You're listening to The Local, hosted by Sam Muscat and proudly supported by the Altona Traders Association. We are here today with a very special guest, Hopheads owner, or one of the owners. There's a big family contingency here, with Adrian Chong. And welcome onto the show, Adrian. And it's truly an honor and a pleasure to have you. How are you feeling this morning?
Good, Sam. Good. Very nice. It's nice to be here. Good to see you.
No, it's great. And thank you for the opportunity of having this conversation too.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now, Adrian, I was really interested. I was reading about the background of your business and all. And you started off at Point Cook. Is that actually where you started the business from?
Yes. Yeah. We started. We had our first shop. My wife and I about 11 years ago now.
Wow.
May 2015, we opened our doors for the first time in Point Cook. And then we opened Altona in August 2018. And then subsequently, we've opened Yarraville in 2021, I think. So
you've got 4 businesses happening.
three.
3 businesses happening.
Yeah.
Goodness me. And just before we really get stuck into this, as I said in my opening, you're a family concern.
Yes.
So your wife,
Yes.
her name?
Her name is Wiley.
And I understand she's the brains behind.
Definitely the brains, definitely the cracker of the whip, the one that keeps me in line, the important part of the business, I would say.
And I actually thought your daughter was.
Well, she's further up the hierarchy than I am, that's for sure, I think.
And that's great. I mean, people don't get it that when you're starting off a business and it's a family business, there's a lot of work that goes behind, not just setting it up, but making sure it's successful. And it seems you've had the right formula.
Well, look, I think we are still figuring out the formula, but it's been good. It has been tough. It does take a lot of time, but I think for the most part we found a good balance. The business has allowed, I think, us to have a lot of opportunities that I don't think we've otherwise have had. So it's been good, very gratifying.
It's great to hear. So what made you get into this type of business? And tell us a little bit about what the business is actually about.
Right. So,
because you've got a great title too. And I've got to say, just before you do go, what a great bit of background this is. It's an amazing bit of craft beer bottle store and tasting room. Although I've got to say, I'm a bit disappointed at Adrian. No tasting.
Look, we'll sort out the tasting later. So don't you worry. We'll get you all taken care of.
So going back, how did you get the name and how did you get started? What gave you the want to start a business like this?
Well, I mean, me and my cousins, about in 2011, we opened a bar in Malaysia, and Hopheads was actually a name that Wiley and I came up with that we wanted to use for that business. And then my cousins, in all their wisdom, decided that now that name's not going to take off in Malaysia. So, okay, when we decided to open our store in Point Cook, we said that's a beautiful, very beer-oriented name. And so we decided that we're going to appropriate that name for our business. And so Hopheads was born. What got us into the business? I think we'd always been fans of beer. We've loved, before we opened the store, beer was had just started getting into a bit of a mainstream thing in Australia, and we were going to lots and lots of little events, and we always thought we could definitely do something like this, and one thing led to the other, and boom, here we are.
Wow, that's amazing. So you actually started the business in Malaysia?
Well, we started a very similar business in Malaysia. It was back then, it was Malaysia's first ever dedicated craft beer venues. So me and my cousins built this thing pretty much from the ground up, where we had to build all the infrastructure for it. There was no import of these type of really cool, interesting beers into the country at that particular time. But I was traveling a lot back and forth back then, back to Malaysia and here, trying to get that business off the ground. And with Wiley working here at the time. So it was kind of like a business, but I wasn't super involved in the day-to-day running of it. I was doing more of the import-export side of that particular business. Came to a point in the whole thing where I had to make a decision. We had to make a decision as to whether we wanted to, possibly go back to Malaysia to be more invested in that business, or we had to maybe start something here ourselves. And so we decided that maybe, we love Australia. We've been here for a while, had been here for a while then, and thought, yeah, maybe we do something and do something locally. And the opportunity presented itself, in Point Cook, and we just
So just walking back in time,
Mhm.
you were already traveling, commuting from Melbourne to Malaysia and backwards and forwards. But when did you become I don't want to say permanent resident, but when did you really decide to, make your roots Australia or Melbourne?
Well, I've been in Australia for a long time actually. I moved here to do uni in 2000.
Okay, so you did your studies here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. So I've been here for a long, long time. And then just did uni. I went back for a little while in between and then came back, finished uni. That's where I met Wiley. And then, we made the decision like quite in about the late, maybe 2006, 2007, that we wanted to stay. So we applied for our residency then, and we stayed on. And
So you started off, but once you determined to study, had you already started Point Cook?
no.
So Point Cook was your very first venture? It's in Australia.
Yeah. Was our first venture in Australia.
So was that when you made this decision, for example, look, we're going to make Melbourne, Australia our home, and we're going to start off a business in Point Cook?
I would say yes. Yeah, that would probably have been about the time we've decided that was what we wanted to do. Yeah.
So what was like, it's a new concept, Hopheads seems to really taken off here in Altona, but what was it like when you first started in Point Cook?
Oh, it was rough. I don't think there was, at that time, Point Cook was still, I think, a relatively young suburb.
That's what I was thinking. So, yeah.
So there wasn't a lot going on. I remember when we moved into Point Cook, there weren't, Point Cook now is night and day. From when we first moved in. And I think when we opened in 2015, it was starting to get busier. But, we thought that the demographic of Point Cook was quite interesting. I think one of the bits of research I did when deciding on whether or not to do it there was that I think I looked at some census data in 2014 or something, and it said that Point Cook at that particular point in time had the highest number of postgraduate diploma holders in Australia. So, and
that's interesting information because I did not know that.
Yeah, so we thought back then, like, if there was
A
one,
marketplace, that would be it.
right? Because all these guys that were coming in, they're all young families. And even though they might not back then, have all this money to spend, these are people that were upwardly mobile. At least that's the way we thought about it. Like,
So you actually did that market research?
I did a bit of market research. I mean, I needed to convince myself it was worth rolling the
Well,
dice.
hey, you're investing the money, so
yeah,
you've
yeah,
got to make
yeah.
sure that's going to work for you.
Yeah,
So even if you only did a little bit, I mean, that's really encouraging because I don't think there's a lot of businesses out there that do that sort of market research.
Well, look, I think you'd be surprised, but I also just like I was saying, like we needed to give ourselves some comfort that this was something that was worth doing in that particular space. It was like it was in a sense easier because it's literally right outside our door. It's probably a 10-minute walk from the house. So it was easy to get to, and but it was hard back then. It was not, beer was growing, but it wasn't what you'd say. Wasn't a popular, like craft beer wasn't like a popular thing in
Craft beer back then wouldn't have been one of those things that was street talk, for example. I'm going to go and try different craft beers, whereas now people go for craft beer and get the opportunity of tasting different beers. There's a hint in that. They get the opportunity of tasting beer. But I just get the opportunity
you get the
of
you get the
tasting-
H2O.
Yeah, the H2O. I mean, really? But no, it's really encouraging when I hear you say about no, and I don't want to harp about the market research, but at least you've done some form
Yeah.
of research. So you've come from Point Cook. Where was your second store here?
Yeah, Altona. So Altona, we opened Altona in, I would say, August 2018. And it was a bit of a, like, bit of an interesting story. My sister lives,
I'm going to try this craft
yeah,
beer.
it's delicious. My sister lives in Altona, and she was, quite like, she was saying, oh, there's lots happening on Pierce Street. And when we walked up and down, we noticed that this place was available. And back then it was, if I remember correctly, it was an old accountancy. And before that, it was a bank. So as you can, not sure if you can see that where that brick tile wall is. That's behind that's actually a safe.
Oh, right.
So an old.
And that's where you keep, no, we better not talk about where you keep all your
where
funds.
no, that's where we keep the important stuff, the beer. So we converted it into an old cold room, and it was like, yeah, so it was
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we walked in here and we were like, yeah, this place was maybe a bit more rundown than we've managed to make it look. But yeah,
You've done a great job. I mean, this behind me is amazing. But if you're watching this and you've got to see the rest of this wonderful bar, it's really decked out, really nice. It's really welcoming, and that's the good thing about it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm impressed about this, but it's very welcoming. So congratulations on
thank you.
that too. So from here, you spread out to where was your next venture?
Yarraville was our next stop. And it's also one of those places where we were, like Altona, we were very keen to grow into. Yarraville's always had that real young vibe. It's a cool little spot.
It's a cool little spot, all right. Are you next to the Sun Theatre?
No, we're not on that stretch. So that's on
okay,
Ballarat
'cause-
Street. We're on Anderson Street near the train station.
Train station.
Yeah. And
Still a good spot.
it is. And look, Yarraville on a whole it's a vibe. It's like, it's changed a lot again in the 5-ish years we've been there. It's changed a lot. I think COVID changed a lot of it.
I think COVID changed a lot of areas,
It did.
unfortunately.
It did. And we were, when we signed and decided to jump in there was like during COVID. So, like that,
That would have been a real hard time.
that started off rough. And look, it's an interesting area, Yarraville, that continues to grow. I think it will. We're quite, they're all the funny thing about all three stores is that they're all very similar, but they're all very unique in
the clientele too, that would be very
yeah. Look, it's very different crowds, very different types of people that come into each store. But all of them are share the same, I think, desire for community, which is like, I think a big part of what we do and what we like to do.
I think you're onto something really special. I think what you provide, the service you provide from a business perspective is a lesson to be learned by maybe other businesses too. I mean, with your expansion. So you've gone from Point Cook to Altona to Yarraville, and then where did you go?
Well, that's Yarraville's the last one.
The last one.
Yeah.
Have you got plans to go any further?
Well, look, we'll see. I think hopefully once the economy looks a bit better, we can start thinking about growing more. We'd love to. We always look to grow. We had big plans. We have big plans, but we'll see.
And I have to ask you this, I suppose, from a political perspective, because you're dealing with 3 different councils. How do you find working with councils? Is it like an up and down road? Is it tough at times? Is it different? Different things are changing through the processes.
I think different councils, they approach things quite differently. Like I think that Wyndham, for example, they're very front-footed. They've always been quite a bit about growth. And so they've been very keen to, I think, promote and do things that help you grow. I think on the other end of the spectrum, maybe Maribyrnong is a little bit less keen to rock the boat.
Yeah.
So anytime you want to do something that's maybe a little bit more interesting, it's maybe a little bit tougher to get through the red tape. I think Hobbs' Bay is a nice blend of the two. But I find all of them, each council can be very, very helpful, as long as, and it depends on who you deal with and depends on what it is you want. As long as it's reasonable, I find that most of them tend to be quite open to having discussions.
And Adrian, I wasn't trying to embarrass you there because I know that a lot of businesses, because here we are at the local, but a lot of businesses rely on that good communication with council.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, having dealt with the 3 councils, I find them that they're similar and they're also dissimilar.
Yeah.
Depending on what area you're looking at.
Yeah.
So that's not a negative, nor is it a positive.
No.
But it's just being in the middle of the road, if
Correct,
you like.
yeah.
Now, I have to ask you this personal question,
Oh,
right?
no.
You're a family man.
Yes.
You're a family business. How do you balance your family life and your business life?
I think actually the balance stuff is sort of like baked into the business. Like, we work, odd hours compared to a lot of other people. It's given us the freedom to really participate in our daughter's like daily life. I think a lot more than if, we were chained to a desk and had to work a 9 to 5. We are able to attend all her school gigs and all her,
That's great.
attend her piano classes and all her choir classes. And, we are quite involved. I think that's the freedom running a business has given us. But it does mean that a lot of the other times it's like, sometimes when everybody's clocked off and in bed and it's 11 p.m. and it's still at the computer just doing stuff that needs to be done for the next day. And it never stops. I think that's the thing about when you run your own business. It's like, you can make plans to do stuff on a Saturday, but you have to be prepared for it to be canceled.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've definitely got that balance. That's just fantastic. And you've been extremely successful. So if you had an opportunity to tell other business people or small business owners, or those maybe that are starting off a business, what would be the advice that you would give them?
I say have a real think about doing it. Like it's the early days is a huge sacrifice. When we first started our like point cook, we just gotten married. Liana hadn't been born yet, so we had a lot of time to devote to the business. Like there was no real huge need for this balance. It's like we could throw ourselves into work. When we opened Point Cook, we didn't close. Wiley and I worked the first 6 months every day for the first 6 months at the shop, and we didn't take a break until like I think 180 days in. So that's, I think, if it's a difficult thing to do if you don't have the time for it. But if you do have the time for it and you are able to throw yourself in to the thing very early, it's great. It gives you so much, like, gives you freedom that you didn't know you could have.
I mean, you've got a thriving business. It's pretty off, and it's really what's the terminology? Is it like it's a market-based business for people who like to maybe try different beers and everything else. So, quick one for you. What's your best craft beer? Come on.
Oh, we don't have a best.
Oh, come on.
I look. I know. Sorry. That's
all right. So, what's your favorite then?
I like IPA. Like, I think it's that's always been the style of beer that I like, which is why we came up with the name Hopheads, because it's a big hoppy style of beer. Like that's the reason. That's where the name sort of like derived from. But what's popular now is like there's like darker styles. It's the middle of winter. People like sitting down, nice big. Like they say, you can cut it with a knife, that kind of stuff. We have a very popular beer on like really nice dark Irish style stout that people have been smashing back all through the fall. So it's
Really?
Yeah.
So you have regulars?
Oh, tons of regulars. Yeah, that's the core of our business. It's like people that keep coming back, and people. I think they keep coming back because I think we have great staff that are very engaging, and people want to come down and spend time with them. And it's like, we're everybody's agony aunt at the same time as their best friend, and we try and be many things to many people.
You'd hear a lot of bar stories too, wouldn't you?
We do, but we can't. We can't.
No, we can't talk
we
about
can't
that.
talk about
And just to also say that one of the great things that you have here at the Hopheads is that you also have music.
Yes, we do. So especially over the summer months, we tend to put music on every Friday, usually from about 6 o'clock. We take a break over the colder months because the musicians don't tend to like to stand outside in the cold. Yeah, but we do live music in the summer, spring, usually all the way to the fall.
Yeah, it's great. I've got to say, thank you for being our guest, Adrian. It's been fantastic having you here on
No
the Local.
worries. Thanks so much.
No, it's great. And just having a listen to you and your passion and what you've achieved, all one can say is congratulations. Really well done. And may you grow to have many more outlets too. And, it's a credit to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
If you would like to get in contact with us, you can contact our producer, our famous producer, Scarlett Rose, via the email that's showing on the screen. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to you being a part of our next broadcast and our next show. So from the Local, it's goodbye. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to being a part of your morning or afternoon, whenever it is that you listen to the Local.